We can see what happens in osmosis in an experiment that imitates what happens in living cells. The thistle tube contains a dyed sugar solution. The dish, water. A selectively permeable membrane separates the water from the dyed sugar. Within a few minutes, the water level has risen in the tube, but none of the dyed sugar has entered the dish. Water diffused into the tube because more water molecules hit openings in the membrane from this side, where the water is concentrated, than from this side, where both water and dyed sugar hit the membrane. Therefore, more water will move in this direction than in this direction. So water, like other substances, diffuses from where it is concentrated to where it is less concentrated. In living organisms, even small concentration differences can have dramatic effects. A time-lapse camera will help us see what happens when the soil around plants dries. The leaves wilt because water diffuses out of the cells. The same thing happens to red onion cells, which have been soaked in a strong salt solution. Water diffuses from inside the cell to the outside. Now the salt water is being washed away by pure water, making the water concentration higher outside the cell than inside. Water diffusing into cells creates an outward pressure which helps plants to remain stiff and upright. When water diffuses into many cells at the same time, it can exert a powerful force. Here, dry beans are being mixed in with wet plaster, which is then allowed to harden. Water will diffuse into the dry beans. Plants use the force of osmosis in many of their life processes. In animals, too, many essential functions depend on diffusion. A fish obtains oxygen through its gills. An unborn child gets its life-giving nutrients through the mother's placenta. We live because deep in our lungs, oxygen diffuses from the air into the blood. And in our kidneys, blood is purified in part by the diffusion of waste out of the blood. In some ways, then, most life processes depend in part on diffusion and osmosis, two of the most dynamic mechanisms of life. Here are some ways in which people make use of diffusion and osmosis. How does spraying vegetables keep them fresh? Why does salt act as a weed killer? How does sugar preserve fruit from bacteria?